Guys, it ends today. We are finally going to finish the series today. And guys, I'm so excited today. I am so excited. If you didn't know, we've been on this series since November last year, talking about if God is good, why is there evil in the world? Why do human beings choose evil? And we hadn't yet got to an answer. And where I thought we would end up is not where we did, because I didn't get to the conclusion until today. So this video is going to serve as this series of videos is going to answer that question. This one's just going to be a little intro to whet your palate, if you will, and give you a little backstory of how we got here before we get into the nitty-gritties of it all. So it all started yesterday, and yes guys, I did wake up once again feeling well rested. I had a good sleep, yeah, and I woke up feeling motivated for the day. I got out of bed, I went into the shower, and the water was burning hot. It burnt my skin, and I was like, praise Jesus. And that's when, you know, the revelation hit. Well, actually it started yesterday. So guys, I have to give you the backstory because I'm going to break it all the heck down, and we're going to be talking jealousy, and we're going to be talking the Rothschilds, and we're going to be talking about the devil and when this whole domino effect of evil actually began. Yeah, we're going to be circling back to some of the things we've already talked about. So I am so excited, guys, and I'm in such a good mood. Like, ever since those prayers I made the other day when I started talking about, and God, if these demons don't listen and persist, may they be punished 100 times fold. And I'm calling out God on the scriptures. And I'm like, day 3, waking up, I haven't had a good sleep, I've been feeling nice. I went out on a walk, right? It was all nice. I saw a little tiny cute little birdie, and they're all cutting the grass and all the hedges, and it's all smelling like grass, and it's bitterly cold, guys. I'm frostbitten. It's all bitterly cold, and everything's looking well groomed, and it was windy, and oh guys, I was just on cloud billion. And me and the Lord had a revelation. Well, I had a revelation in the shower. But anyway, let's get a backstory to how we got here before we get into the videos. So it all started when I was listening to a message, a very, very short message yesterday. And in the message, it said, this lady was saying, this woman of God was saying about the difference between jealousy and envy. And she specifically said the difference between jealousy and envy is that envy is when you feel like, you know, somebody else, you wish you had something somebody else, or somebody else has something you think you deserve, kind of thing. But jealousy is the fear of losing something. The fear of losing something. And she said that it's like the way that God explained it to her was kind of like having almost like, what does she call it? Like a bunch of like, it's like something that chokes things out of people. Like, you know what I mean? And she was basically explaining how when you're like on the other receiving end of somebody experiencing that or who's going through that, it's like it'll choke everything out of you and you'll feel like just so constrained and I was like, wow, this is deep, because I was in fear of losing something. So ever since she said that, she didn't say it yesterday, but I listened to it yesterday. I've just been like pondering kind of what does that actually mean? Like, what does that actually mean? So that's what brings us to today, because I've just been thinking about it, and I've just been there thinking and 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 thinking. And I started to go through like my own experiences, my own things I've seen in the world, all the things I've been saying to you guys about jealousy. I'm going through the examples in the Bible, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this, because I never thought of it in this way. I never thought to think that jealousy is the fear of somebody losing something, right? So this morning, now again, going back to this morning, I was looking forward to today, because this is the day I always have had it throughout my life, like as an adult. I always pick one day in the week that's going to be my day off during the week, and that's why I always work on the weekend, because then this is really like my weekend, because everybody else is busy, everyone's busy, so I just get a day to myself and you guys. So the timing worked out perfectly, basically. And I always work like the days outside of that, I go hard, extra hard, you know. So yesterday was a long day. tomorrow's going to be a long day, right? But nevertheless, it's worth it because now I kind of can have the time to like disconnect and just like be at one with like the Lord, you know what I mean? And really like, because I feel like it's important to take time. I even heard one of her messages, she was talking about, you know, how the enemy spends so much time trying to distract us. And sometimes the simplest way of getting between us and like what God has in store for us is simply to keep us distracted, right? Keep us distracted, just literally not having the time. That's why I make such a big deal about time and my time. And I talk to you guys all the time about time, because it's like, it's about time you make time for the Lord, because the enemy, as we know, because we know that from earlier in the series, this he's intentionally working so that we don't have the time for God. That's why he's keeping us busy. That's why he's keeping us always having other things and everything. Because once we actually disconnect from everything and spend time with God, all of a sudden, even if we just disconnect and take time to look around and actually take in what's happening, that's when we actually realize, right? So I was thinking about all of this and this morning, and then for whatever reason, I end up doing a bit of a look into the Rothschilds. Now, there's an important thing to mention here. Like, this is where, this is going to be so juicy. This is going to be so juicy. Well, actually, first it was Julius Caesar, and then it was the Rothschilds. But anyway, this is going to get so juicy. Guys, this is going to get so juicy because I didn't know what I'm about to tell you about them, which is that. And this is where the ironies and the timing of my life is absolutely insane. So, obviously, the first Rothschild, I believe his name was Mayer. He was, obviously they originated in Frankfurt, Germany. Guten Tag, meine Lieben. What can I say in German that was relevant to this video? I can't think of anything right now. Not important. Anyway, and at the time, now this is where it gets juicy. At the time, there was an area where like the Christians were allowed to live, and they were living up lifestyles of the rich and noble and famous upper echelon. And then the Jews were living behind this wall in this designated area and were seen as the peasants, to the extent that when the Jews would see a Christian, the Christian could say, do whatever you must do, and they would get into the gutter and have to bow. So it's getting juicy. So I was like, where have I seen this before? Oh wait, every anime that I was just watching, literally all these animes I've been watching. So I'm like, I know art imitates life. I know it, because it kept being these scenarios, right? Where there would be these people living lavishly, living with all these riches and whatever, seeing themselves as better than another group of people who were seen as waste. In fact, one of my actual favorites, Gachi Okuta animes that I watched, so good, and the music is really good. And it literally starts out that a kid goes to go and take the waste, because if you disobey these people, they throw you into the wasteland, and in the wasteland, it's literally where they just dump all the waste. So essentially like what we do today in the West, just go and dump our waste somewhere else. And then if you don't obey the rules, they go and throw you into the waste. And the thing is, because the waste has been festering for so long, these waste beasts appear and they'll kill you. And what you don't know is that people actually survive there, and there's another whole civilization of very cool people who live, and there's actually another area altogether, right? Which is similar again to Attack on Titan, because the start of Attack on Titan is just like, oh, these Titans, where are they coming from? The Titans are created by these people who live again behind this wall. And so if you don't obey the rules, right? Just sort of this song we used to sing at school. This is an important matter. How you should behave at school. We will get along much better when we can obey the rules. Just reminded me of that, right? Anyway, we sing that at primary school. So the people over there, right, there's again a wall, and if you don't behave, they take you to the wall, and they're like, no, because basically there's one race of people only. Again, it's specific to a race again. Oh, how many times in history do we see the same thing? It's almost like something's replaying itself 100 times, because it is. Because I'm going to take you guys all the way back to the beginning, before we even existed, to show how this all led here till today. Yeah, and we're doing that today, because guess what? I have the time today. So if I have to, I don't care what it takes. This series ends here today. So so they take the people there, and then they inject you, because there's only one race of people who can turn into Titans. Because yes, spoiler, the Titans were once people who got injected with this whatever that comes from the DNA again of a dynasty. And it only turns people into Titans if you're from that dynasty. So essentially, I think that, so they take you to the wall basically, and they inject you. So these people who live in where we start in Attack on Titan, they've all been lied to, because they're all the descendants of this dynasty, and they basically made some pact with whoever thousands of years ago that we're going to pretend we're the last remaining they think they're the last remaining 100,000 people on Earth. Little do they know, they're just the only area where this race exists, other than in this other place, right? And in the rest of the world actually does exist, but they've never seen it. They've never seen the ocean. They all live in the walls. They all live under these walls, and they think this is the world they're living in. And honestly, this show could not be more accurate, right? So then these Titans, the reason why they get kicked out is because some of them who were left over ended up, in the whatever fancy land of the rich and famous, whatever. And they get to be honorary citizens, right? Honorary citizens. This is also funny. This is also funny to me. This is also freaking funny to me. They get to be honorary citizens and stuff, right? What's going on with the weather? Is it going to rain again? Oh yeah, it was raining. It was raining. It was stormy. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm loving life. I'm cold as we speak, and the windows are not even open. Anyway, and so basically, so they're seen as like a lesser race, yeah. And so if they're well behaved, they can like have an honorary citizenship, but then they so a lot of them like try to prove themselves, to prove like they're not like the rest of the scum that they come from, right? And anyways, the show gets interesting once they all get scared of the Titans, because they don't need the Titans anymore because technology catches up. So then they have no use for these honorary citizens, and the honorary citizens realize, oh, we're done now, because actually realistically they're a threat, because they can become Titans and the other ones can't, which is why they're trying to suppress them. Anyway, all very interesting, right? This lower race, these upper people who are the ones who have the money and the wealth and whatever, who look down on everybody else as the peasants and look down on people as something, right? And who are inherently scared, right? They're scared to lose what they have, right? This is the truth. They're scared of the power of these Titans against them, hence why they're obsessing over all this technology that can take down the Titans, because the tide turns in an Attack on Titan when there's a technology that can take out the Titans, right? Because then it's like, oh, we're just going to wipe them all out. But anyway, I'm not going to say how it ends, because it's kind of sick. It's really good. But I just can't believe I kept seeing the same storyline again and again and again, right? So fast forward back to the Rothschilds, right? So Mayer Rothschild grew up in this environment, and obviously it's hell. He became an orphan because there was some disease, right? Again, I don't know what it is with the diseases, like anyway, you know what? I'm not gonna throw any shade anywhere. But he essentially became an orphan, and he grew up amongst seeing all of this, and it was obviously traumatizing. And as an orphan, he ended up doing an internship amongst the aristocracy, where, would you believe it, he saw that there was some of his own Jews, right, amongst the Christians who were with the aristocracy of it all. Yeah, it's raining. Hell yeah. Oh my days. This is the day that the Lord has made. So he saw that some of them could like work, if they worked in certain job roles and certain this and that, then they got to also be around these areas. And that's how he started to learn about money. And so he essentially developed this thing of like, well, we're going to need to find what we're going to have to offer to bring to the table, because I need something. Hold on a minute. So so he now has got an opportunity, like, something I can use. Like, what can I use? What can I use that's going to be something that gives me leverage in this life, so I can actually hold some kind of power, and it becomes money. So bro starts scavenging around, because he realizes that the rich people like to have like coins, these ancient coins, these old coins, and they just like to collect them, these rich folk, right, who just got money to spend. So he starts looking any and everywhere and any and everything to find them, and start kind of like selling them to start making some money. And then he gets all in good cahoots with some princes. He makes some decisions to just give some away, to give himself some leverage, some people that kind of have his back, right, in the other camps, right? Anyways, long story short, it becomes a good little thing for him and for them, because it's like, well, he can kind of hold on to people's wealth. Because what ends up happening as a result, I think, of the French Revolution, by the way, this is all happening in 1560 something. So this is again around the same time, just around the same time after. So I wonder if some of this was as a result of the work of Martin Luther in 1506. This is about 50 years later. So what if this whole Christian thing happening is all because of what Martin Luther did, or rather didn't do? Because we know that in 1506, he came, he saw, he was like, this isn't okay, with salvation is by faith alone. He started on that mission, but then that mission failed. Why did said mission fail? Mission failed because he got all up with the rich and famous, and then he started to say, well, freedom is. And so he ends up getting, so this is what I'm saying, guys, about free will and choice, and how we need to get real about how serious our decisions actually are, right? Because, so remember, Martin Luther had started out well, but then as soon as he got caught up with the rich folks and all that lifestyle, and it became a threat because a revolution was about to happen, because the people were inspired now and realized that they could take down the governments and whatnot, he doubled back, right? He doubled back when the people started to actually walk in the power of Christ that Christ actually gave us. But before he got to that, and because of what he'd started, remember, the church had started to spread. So I'm wondering if this spreading of churches and all the different little factions and whatever was happening, part of it is what led to what we're talking about now in Frankfurt, Germany, which makes sense because we know that it's spread amongst Europe, right? And that's why even today we now have the Church of England as its own church, because they all kind of spread and then they all kind of reinterpreted the information in slightly different ways, again, the denomination. So I can't believe I just find myself doing these things, guys. I don't get it. I don't understand. But we're here now, in the here and now. Okay. So anyway, so then, so this is around 1566 or 1556. This is all happening with this Mayor Rothschild thing, and him being at which is crazy, because this whole series started because I started talking about the freaking fact that the 5th of November, again, a rhyme I learned at school, remember, the 5th of November, when gunpowder, treason and plot, and which again is the Protestants versus the Catholics. It's another religious battle. This is what I'm saying. This is crazy. Crazy, right? So anyway, and that's when they tried to kill, Guy Fawkes tried to blow up Parliament in the UK. Yeah, and we celebrate Bonfire Night every 5th of November every year, in remembrance of what they do to people that tried to blow up the government. What are they so afraid of losing, I wonder? Anyway, and so the government, what happens next? Sorry, where was I? I got lost. Oh yeah, so this guy, he gets in good cahoots with the rich, and because of, I think, the French Revolution or whatever, or something happened that led to one of the guys, this guy in particular, this rich royal whoever, having to flee, and he had to flee too fast that he didn't have anywhere to leave his wealth, so he only went and gave it to Mayor Rothschild to hide. And Mayor Rothschild's like, well, don't mind if I do, and hides the money and the wealth. But he's like, I'm not gonna work. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm about to get rich right here and right now. And so then he goes on, right, so he decides, sorry, I have to keep stopping for reasons I can't really get into. But anyway, so he, anyways, in long story short, he gets the money and he's like, oh, we gonna get rich now. I'm gonna get rich. So fast forward, by this point now, he starts making money and making money double. He's like, I need to do whatever it takes, because you got to remember, and this is why I'm bringing this up. He was motivated by the fact that he had grown up being treated like the scum of the earth, having to bow to these people. And so he was looking for something, to give him, for his life not to be how it is, and see and experience the things he has. And this is, guys, the fundamental foundings of what creates what I would describe as a loser. And that is, when you kind of covet something, it kind of starts like, almost like it starts with envy and it becomes jealousy, right? Where you covet something and that you want, right? And then you become completely consumed by, like what you don't have. This is why contentment is a great thing in life, to have. Not to say he should have been content in his circumstances. I just think that if you don't keep yourself in check, it gets to a point where you become overly obsessed and obsessive, and then it entirely consumes you. Now, will it lead to success in this world? Yes, which we're about to see through what he did specifically. But also, will it lead to hell also if it consumes you? Yes, it will lead to overwhelming success in this world, which I think just goes to show itself by the name alone. But it also goes to show that ultimately, on the other side, because my question, even going just back to the treatment of the Jews at the time by the Christians in Germany, is like, which again, really quite interesting, just history, isn't it? Isn't it so interesting? Isn't it everything so interesting? Because it's like, who's to say what the Christians were doing were even right? Like, because that's my thing. My thing is like, sometimes it's okay to allow yourself to be treated by certain people in a certain way, when it's like, hey, you're going to pay your own prices one day yourself. So I'll stay here in wherever situation I'm in. I've only got to just stay here and get through it for 80 or 90 years. And I can be eternity in the Lord and face God and Judgment Day. But you know what I mean? So then again, this is what I'm saying again about just, perspective. But anyway, so long story short, he then starts making money. He starts doing all this smuggling. Yeah, it was the Napoleonic Wars. It was Napoleon. He basically starts like hustling and like smuggling in materials from England and all sorts, and just getting filthy freaking rich. He ends up getting with this woman. They have 10 or 15 kids? 15? Or was it 19? They had like a dumb amount of kids. Anyways, a lot of them, basically like half died. They ended up with 5 sons, 5 daughters. And then he started up the system where like everybody works, and he basically didn't treat his kids like as if, not even like they were his kids. He was like, no, this is the will of the bloodline. Like, that is incredible. By the way, I have to say, that is incredible. Like, this is the will of the bloodline, that like this is what we have. This is what we have to leverage in this life, and we have to protect this with our lives. So he taught that to his kids, and whatever. And one of the problems he had was the fact that, obviously, at the time, having daughters, when they married into a family, whatever you had became your husband's property. And so that posed an issue for him, which means that he made it so that his daughters could not and be a part of the actual workings of this, only his sons. And they continued basically just to build all this money and all this wealth. And again, they were keeping it secret, so it was hidden. And it was like a rule he had: no one knows how much money we have, and you don't tell anybody. The only people who know anything is those of us here in this family. Nobody else knows anything. No one's to know anything, right? Which, again, genius, because again, it's a strong working team. Like, they're working together, they're keeping each other's secrets. Like, they can rely upon each other. it works. So I respect that part of it. Anyways, he ends up getting to near death. And so in his dying wishes, he then lays out the plan of action of what everybody's going to do after he dies. This is what I'm saying when I say that I really respect the Rothschilds in a lot of ways, because I feel like they may not have done it for the right reasons, but they did the right things, if you know what I mean, in terms of like, this is actually our generational plan. You know what I mean? This is our generational plan of what we're going to do. And this goes on for generations. Because again, this is how many 100 years ago? And look where we are now. You see, it works. Not just, oh, I'm just going to have kids and then just hope they get a good job and then at least that's good enough. No, we need to be thinking far ahead. It was the same with even William Lynch with the transatlantic slave trade. He's like, here's how we're going to keep these people enslaved for 400 years. So yeah, this is what we should be thinking about. Actual plans. So anyways, Mayor Rothschild, he goes to, what does he do? Yeah, so he lays out this plan, and this is the plan that says everything stays in the family name. We need to all marry within the family. Like we're having kids, so cousins are marrying cousins and having kids. Uncles are marrying their nieces. Like we keep everything in house, you keep everything in check. This is a secret. This is your family. This is our bloodline. And it almost goes. I heard somewhere when I was like looking into this that kind of like DNA matching, it's almost like them actually turning themselves into like their own kind of a not subspecies, but because normally when the rest of us are like procreating with other people, like even if you're from like the same country or whatever, like the lineages of your families and based on history and just how long we've all existed, there's a lot more gene pools coming into the mix, if you will. Whereas with them, they're just kind of really cross-referencing around the same kind of universe. And so I do believe there's an element of them that like that desire is almost like that will is almost in their blood now. You know what I mean? I almost feel like it's almost like a bloodline level, like soul tie level, like way of thinking, way of doing, way of being. I say all of this to say, fast forward to 2026, why are they at the top of the world? Because they're scared to lose everything. God forbid, that even if they know it or not, because of where they started and what it took them to get here, if they lose all this power, like you guys know, this is a question I've been asking. Why are people so obsessed with power? Like, why is the obsession? Like, what is the obsession with power? Who cares? Why do we care? And I realized it's because people have something to lose. And so that's where we're going to start this off, guys. This is insane. That's where we're going to start this off, because I'm like, oh, it makes sense. They were scared of losing. Like, they're scared to lose. Like, the people in the world in power right now, they are fearful of losing what they have because of probably where they started. You know what I mean? Or probably where they started. And that's why they see, the success of others as a threat, because this is where we're going to go next. Probably in the next video, I'm going to talk through some biblical examples of how, and maybe even world examples as well, of how like the jealousy, envy thing became a problem, because and why somebody, because what I didn't understand and I still struggle to understand to this day is how you can look at somebody else, right, and feel like that person is a threat to your own personal success. But then today, it hit me and I understood. And so then afterwards, or at some point, I don't know the older guys, I don't know why I say that, like I'm not just here just flowing naturally through this, but yeah, we're gonna go through, because now I get it. Like I never understood, like of my whole life I've never understood the idea of looking at somebody else as like somehow a hindrance to your success. But now I kind of see it in a way based on this story, and that's what kind of made me start to think about this whole concept of the jealousy thing, of the fear of losing. I'm like, what could you be fearful of losing, and how could somebody else be a threat? And it's like, oh, because somebody else's presence can potentially threaten. And this is why Jesus is the ultimate threat to a loser. And we're about to talk about that in the next video. So we'll come to that and then we'll see where that goes. I'm trusting in the Holy Spirit to remember all the points because I don't want to forget anything because there were so many different things I was thinking about. So stay tuned, please. But yeah, if life's a game was played to win, come to the next part. This whole entire long series is all going to be linked in the, what's it called? Playlist in the description box. But other than that, yeah, I'll see you in the next part where I'm going to unpack why like jealous people see other people as their problem, as the barrier to their success. On that note, if life's a game, let's play to win. I hope you guys enjoy this. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one.